coming up to the line, being chased, and it was Braden Johnson.
Unbelievable finish.
It was 1/1000th of a second between them.
Green flag in the air. We are racing in the 2020 24 Hours of Daytona.
They go door to door for the feature race lead here on the last lap of the race. Side by side for the race lead in the final corner at Homestead.
Down the back straightaway, 3 wide again for the race lead. This is unbelievable stuff here tonight.
Loma is going to have to be very deep on the brakes, and he is very deep on the brakes. It's side by side through the corner. This is for the win.
It'll be side by side. Davies low, Ottinger high. To the very inside is Garrett low. 4 wide at the stripe. For all he's worth here on this outside line, neck and neck. Who's gonna back out? Does anyone back out? Verstappen starts to squeeze on the inside, and now he'll try and straight line it. Goes under the apron, drag race to the line. It's so close to call.
The land of chaos is a place of no remorse, and tonight it's time to embrace that chaos. Live from the Talladega Superspeedway, it's the Talladega 119 for round 6 of the TrexCo iRacing League ARGA Stock Car Series, and of course we're glad to have you tuning in with us here on KBRN. My name is Kenneth Bueno, alongside Charlie Baier in the booth tonight. We'll bring you all the action from the drop of the green flag to the drop of the checkered flag at the end of 45 laps. And Charlie, we've talked about it before the broadcast, and it kind of seems to be the main topic of conversation when it comes to this track, and that's chaos.
I agree, Kenneth. This is one of the wild card tracks we have in our schedule alongside with Daytona, our season opener. It's a good chance for the drivers who need those points to pick up some crucial points as we head into the second half of this season. And it's also a good chance for people like Grayson Trexler to increase their points lead over others.
Yes, of course, you mentioned Grayson Trexler, and we can bring up the point standings as they stand after race 5. Grayson Trexler tops the board with 68 points, driving for TrexCo Simsport. Has yet to pick up that win, but you can pick up that win here at Talladega. Brody Garner behind him, just 3 points shy of the lead. Jackson Hartman behind him in third. Curtis Granger, 13 points behind in fourth. He's lost 2 positions since the last race at IRP. Carl Faust rounds out the top 5 in point standings. Keaton Jones, Bryson Frank, Glenn Bundren Jr., Zachary Vicari, and Blaze McKinney, who won at Chicagoland, sits just about 29, I believe 29 points, or 39 points, excuse me, below the first points. So as you see, the cars are practicing. There's just about 6 minutes left, and we'll get to some of the interviews for you just before the race starts. And of course, we'll get to the pre-race ceremonies and all this stuff, all the festivities on track. And Charlie, I want to ask you, this is one of the biggest races of the season. It's Talladega, one of the biggest tracks as well. I know that this is a track of unpredictability, as I should say, in terms of who can really go out on top. And we've seen a couple of drivers put on some lap times, and some people are competitive. What are your expectations kind of going into this race? Do you think we'll see maybe some cleaner racing? You think we'll just go out all out anarchy? Is there kind of some expectation you have going into tonight?
Well, fun little fact, this is a record field for this series tonight. It's a little over than 30 cars, so I think we'll see our fair share of cars that try to run up front, and other cars that try to run conservatively. There is one crash repair, so I would expect these guys to try to use it a little bit conservatively and try to make it to the end and not have to use it. Best case scenario for them.
Yeah, of course, a very, very good scenario if you're kind of hanging in the back and staying in the back. We might see some drivers do that at the drop of the green flag on the back straightaway. But we'll just see what happens on the racetrack. Just about 5 minutes left until practice is over, and that means we can get to an interview with some drivers on the racetrack, see what they feel, see their thoughts coming into tonight, maybe some of the risks that they could take going into tonight, and some moves and stuff like that. We'll bring in the driver who's making his first start tonight in the TrexCo iRacing League. That is the number 1 of Kelan Belsha. And Kelan, welcome to the booth. It's great to have you. You got a copy, first of all?
I got you.
All right, Kelan, well, this is your first start I know this is a plate track, so it's kind of like the big start. You know, it's a really big place to kind of get your first start and get the rookie stripes off your car. And is there some sort of feeling you have about this race? You think you're going to be competitive? I know you signed with Dr. Pepper Esports for this race. Is there kind of some strategy you have going into tonight? You can pick up the checker flag?
Well, I'm gonna start off running in the back for first. Probably not gonna qualify, and then we'll just see what it goes from there and try to avoid the chaos at the beginning, and hopefully we can make it up front as the laps dwindle down, and hopefully we'll be up front in position to possibly win this thing later.
Of course, this track is one of the most unpredictable tracks, and you know, I know this is still your first start. You don't really have much of the understanding surrounding this league in terms of, you know, like racing and the people around this track and the people in this league. But is there any person you're looking to work forward with? I know you're with Dr. Pepper Esports, and I know you're one of the 3 big teams on the track tonight that's making up most of this field. Is there somebody you have in mind to work with, or are you just kind of going to keep that under wraps?
Tonight, trying to work with all those Dr. Pepper Esports guys for sure. But to start off, gonna run with Henry and Peter. Gonna ride back there to start off, and then just hopefully avoid the chaos by then and be up front towards the end. That'd be nice.
All right, Kelan. Well, of course, we wish you the best of luck in your first start. It's Talladega, so we'll see you out there on track going 200 miles per hour. So, of course, thank you for joining us here in KBRN, and we wish you luck out there.
Yeah, y'all have a good night.
Kelan Belsha comes out of the booth in his first start, driving the number 1. That's one of the more interesting stats we see tonight. We'll drag him out of the booth and get him into the waiting room, that is, or somewhere else, wherever he wants to go. A little bit of information about Talladega Superspeedway. It's a 2.66 mile long D-shaped oval located in the heart of Alabama. The track was, not sure where the track was built, but it's located in the small city just about in Lincoln, Alabama. So it's not too far from not sure where Alabama, Birmingham, excuse me, the main city down in Alabama, but huge track. This is one of the most historic tracks in NASCAR. I believe it was built back in 1979. And ever since, we've had some chaotic racing. And we'll bring another driver into booth. That'll be Glenn Bungeon, the number 37. We'll bring Charlie for the interview to give him the interview. Charlie, go ahead. Take it away.
Fun Bungeon, this is Charlie in the KBRN booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir. I got you, Charlie.
Well, Glenn, it is Talladega. Lots of unpredictable moves coming up. Lots of good racing. And that big one is looming in the distance. What's the strategy for you and the rest of the Dr. Pepper Esports team tonight?
Well, I'm hoping to run in the back, wait for all the drinks to happen. But, you know, it's Talladega. It's bound to happen. And hopefully one of us Dr. Pepper Esports drivers can pull through and get the W here at Talladega.
Yeah, and you mentioned you're part of Dr. Pepper Esports signed today. Is there a strategy coming into this race that'll help one of you guys maybe help lead and maybe get a win here?
Yeah, just wait for the wrecks to happen. I think Blaze and some other people want to try and dominate the whole race, which I don't think that's going to happen though, but hopefully if it does, it does, and if it don't, we got some more cars in the back that can get us W.
Alright, well, Blaze, we wish you the best of luck tonight. Oh boy, we wish you the best of luck tonight. A very big field for us tonight. Before I let you go, any sponsors that you want to thank?
I'd like to thank iRacing Media and Corey Hart's Media for allowing me the opportunity to switch over to Dr. Pepper Esports for this one race.
Alright, well, Glenn, we wish you the best of luck tonight, and we'll see you out there on the track.
Yeah, thank you.
That was Glenn Bungeon, driver number 37, Dr. Pepper Esports car for tonight. We see these guys running in packs. We saw a little bit of a wreck down the backstretch there, but do you think we'll see a lot of these pack racing start to form kind of in the start of the race, or do you think they'll try to save it for later, Kenneth?
Well, as I mentioned earlier in the broadcast, I think we might see some guys just kind of back out at the beginning of the race, especially down the backstretch on lap 1. I think down later in the stretch, when kind of guys get used to the cars, kind of get used to the track itself and how they handle in the draft, I feel like that's when these guys will start to get a little more racier. But of course, during those times, there might be some cautions that might breed even more cautions during the race, and that's going to be one of the more interesting things to see. And of course, there are 3 big teams, as I mentioned earlier, with Kelan Belsha being part of Dr. Pepper Esports. There are 2 other big teams in this field tonight, a huge field, a very stacked field. tonight here at Talladega. We have VAG Esports as well. We also have TrexCo SimSport. And I want to ask you, Charlie, because this is one of the more interesting parts of this race that we're going to see, is do you think there's kind of that advantage that you have if you have more drivers on your team, on your side? You know, people such as Grayson Trexler, who's in the lead, who has yet to capture that victory in this season, and guys like Curtis Granger. You think there might be some advantage with having some of your teammates that have your back?
Well, I think at a track like this, that's full throttle, that requires some of that help behind you. I think it's very important to kind of find your teammates and help each other. It's all about teamwork at this track, and you kind of want to find each other and help each other get out front. But with that being said, it is qualifying, so we're going to slide ourselves aside to present our nation's colors in the national anthem. So please rise and remove your hats as we honor our nation's colors. And that was the American national anthem. We do have some drivers from above us in Canada, so we're going to honor Canada's national anthem as well.
Those were the nation's colors for both the American and the Canadian national anthems just there on your screen. Well, right now, as pre-race ceremonies get wrapped up, we see some of the drivers out on track. It's group qualifying right now, so we're seeing some interesting pack racing in the field right now, as we see a couple of drivers going 3 wide. Somebody goes hard in the wall, but now we have a really, really big field. And with this large field right now, do you think there's going to be some kind of conservative moves between some of the drivers who are making their first starts? Do you think they'll probably make some bolder moves? Do you think they'll just kind of keep it easy and just kind of learn about what's happening in their environment?
Well, as someone who has plate raced a lot in their iRacing career, I think there is a sense of safety that you want to put yourself in, and one way to do that is obviously to hang around in the back, but by your trusted teammates, and you kind of want to wait for that moment to try to charge back towards the front, maybe later in the race, and obviously at that point, these are really unpredictable races, so eventually you just want to go for it, I guess.
All right, well, you hear it from Charlie himself, and just about 20 seconds left in the qualifying session. We pretty much already have the field kind of decided for the grid, and we'll bring you the grid once the field kind of stacks up behind the pace car, and we'll get you everything over there. And it's going to be an exciting night tonight. This is pretty much the first functioning iRacing broadcast we have here on KBRN. So, of course, we thank you, the fans, everybody watching in the YouTube chat. Thank you for all the patience and all the love you've supported, all the support you've shown through this channel as we've continued to work hard to bring you the best content on YouTube for iRacing. Qualifying is just about finished. That means we can grid the field up and give you your starting grid. Very, very exciting. I'm pretty much excited. Are you excited about this tonight?
I'm pretty pumped about this race. First KBRN broadcast. We appreciate you guys coming out to watch. It should be an exciting one with this large field, and Talladega, how unpredictable it is. So we appreciate your support.
Of course, there's just about 35 seconds, I believe. The qualifying session was just extended just a tad bit to get some of those drivers to put some laps in, those final touches on their cars. And already we've interviewed 2 drivers now. I wish we could have had a little bit more time to interview more and give their perspectives on how they want to attack the racetrack here at Talladega. And as we wrap up with about 13 seconds, we'll give you the starting grid. Actually, what I want to do is kind of just mention the schedule. What's kind of happening in the schedule right now for the TrexCo iRacing League. Of course, this is Talladega, the Talladega 119 for 45 laps. We have Lanier after this. That'll be May 18th, next Monday, 8 p.m. And of course, that'll be right here on KBRN. Well, we have the field pretty much set up now. We'll have the field gridded, and we will give you your starting grid for tonight's Talladega 119 for 45 laps. Starting on the pole is the man driving the 27 car. That is Jordan Kuntz. Alongside him will be the 49 of Sami Yaya.
Starting second row inside is going to be that 22 car of Liam Sheen. And starting right beside him is going to be that 37 car of Ty Smith. I'm sorry, 97 car of Jackson Steiner. Behind them, we have the 55 of Brody Garner, and then to his outside, we have the number 7. He is a VAG Esports driver. That is Will Reichert. And starting beside him, we have that 27 car, one of the points contenders for this season, Bryson Frank. Starting right beside him on the outside is that 18 car of Ty Smith. Behind them, I believe we have the 25 of Ruben Caceres, and then we have the number 4 of Jackson Hartman. I believe on the screen shows is Ryan Potter and Jackson Hartman. Some of the drivers still haven't gridded entirely, so we have some drivers still lacking, but that is Ryan Potter and Jackson Hartman in the row behind them. Row number 6 is Curtis Granger in that 77 VAG Esports car. Right beside him is teammates and a driver for his team, 25 car Ruben Caceres. Down behind them, it'll be the 12 of Carl Faust and the 48 car of Keaton Jones. Right behind him, we have the 54 car TrexCo SimSports owner Grayson Trexler, and starting right beside him on the outside is the 37 car of Glenn Bundren Jr. Behind Glenn Bundren Jr. and the 37, and the 54, excuse me, it'll be the 83 of Joe Burgee and Joe Knuckle in the 24. I believe I said that wrong. Joe Knuckle, I believe that's how you pronounce it. Right behind him, that 28 car first time starter Jack DeAndre and the 47 car of Preston Cope. Behind them will be the 87 of Blaze McKinney and the 33 of Bucky Burton, the Mustang. Right behind them we have James Youngerman and the 52 TrexCo SimSports driver of Kevin White Jr. Then behind them we have the Oreo machine, the 88 of AJ Bain, and alongside him on the outside, that will be the 23. No, not the 23. Excuse me. That'll be the 23. Yes, 23 of Zachary Vicari. Let's looking to round out your field tonight. Around 30 cars, just less than 30 cars gridded up, and we are excited to see a great race tonight. We're excited to present this broadcast to you guys tonight, and it's sure to be a good one. And of course, we'll have the 1 to green. The pace lights are off. They worked their way down the back straightaway. And this is starting to kind of bring up the tension, bring up the anticipation, and I'm sure a lot of these drivers are nervous to get this race started and kind of go here for 45 long laps around Talladega. And of course, I've been a driver at Talladega myself in iRacing, and
terms of the official series, and I know that pace laps here are pretty much agonizingly long. And that's one of the things that maybe some of the drivers will kind of take note of during this race and try to keep themselves clean during the 45 laps event. So Jordan Kuntz.
Race summary here presented by Super Mix. Your pole sitter is Jordan Kuntz. We are set to complete 45 laps around this very large racetrack, 2.5 miles. And it's sure to be an exciting one here. Pacing right now, but we're getting ready to take the green flag shortly.
And of course, one of the things I forgot to mention earlier at the top of the show is that this track is very different from the tracks like Daytona and some of the other super speedways, in which the start-finish line is farther down the tri-oval than you think. It's not really in the center of the tri-oval. It's kind of farther down. So of course, green flag restarts, and especially this initial start will be some challenge for some of these drivers. 27 of Jordan Kuntz, 49 of Sami Yaya will lead the field to the green flag, and we'll get the green flag in just a little bit off of this tri-oval, and here they come into the restart zone. The green flag will fly. We're green for the Talladega 119.
Failing into turn number 1, lots of fanning out, cars trying to dive to the apron to try to go to the back, one of the more conservative moves. But up front, Jordan Kuntz leads the field, starting to go single file on the bottom with Liam Sheen right behind him.
And here's what I mentioned. There's already some cars backing down on the back straightaway, trying to get themselves to the rear of the field. They think that what's happening up front is just a little bit sketchy for their taste. And here comes a move from the two Badge Esports cars, the 7 and the 77 of Curtis Granger, going around the 49 in the middle.
Very aggressive move early on to try to get those drivers to the front. Still lots of more fanning outs early on, but in the next few laps we'll try to see that settle down, as we are looking 3 wide for the lead. Liam Sheen is stuck in the middle.
Yeah, you see Liam Sheen in the Dr. Pepper Esports car. He's trying to find some way around the 27, trying to get a way to clear him, and he does. Gets to the bottom, almost gets a little bit loose down there. It can get squirrely with these cars if you make the wrong. And of course, you see some of the drivers trying to fan out into these lines, but so far it's looking a bit scattered as we see another Badge Esports car come up high and give the support on the high line.
Lots of strategy from that Badge Esports team early on, trying to get lined up on the wall as the 7 car, Will Reachard, is out in front, takes the middle lane, and we are already looking 3 wide racing already. It's a bit surprising to see this a little early on, but it certainly is good to see and exciting.
Yeah, we talked about it. We kind of thought that these guys are going to play a little easy in the beginning stages of this race, but so far it's looking as there's a yellow flag on the racetrack. Pretty sure that was someone near the rear of the field, and I'm not sure who it might have been. No slow cars through the big pack here in the front. To see what happened. I'm not sure what happened, but that's our first caution flag of the evening, as we'll try to get you the replay here. Right here, just in shortly. I'm not sure. Well, I didn't see anything. Oh no, I see the caution right there. We'll give the replay, and we'll get this replay for you pretty soon. That was the 52. That was Kevin White Jr., who I believe was involved in that incident. We'll show you the replay in just a tad bit. We'll see what happened. It happened right on the oval, so I'm not sure what happened there between those two drivers, but I believe one of them got hooked just as they were coming down the front straightaway, and we'll see kind of what happened. As you see some of these drivers down there in the front, and I think Kevin White Jr. was just kind of blinking just a little bit. That might have been why the caution was called on the racetrack. As you see, he gets a little loose and just goes straight into the wall. The 24 was also involved in that as well. It's a huge carnage on the racetrack. I believe he has already disconnected almost, or he's just not here in the session. We can't really get a view on him. So caution flag number 1 on the racetrack. Of course, the field will bring themselves to a halt, a slower pace. We'll have the 22 of Liam Sheen leads the field out after a move early run to bring in to the top of the field. Jordan Kuntz right behind him. Sami Yaya, who started in second, made some bold moves in the middle of that 3 wide situation to keep him third. the 7 of Will Reichard. First VAG Esports car in the top 5. He's rounding out 4th, and coming out of the top 5 is Ruben Caceres, another VAG Esports car. And behind them, Keaton Jones, who made a pretty good move down within the last couple laps to bring himself within the top 6.
Yep, lots of aggression early on. A lot of those VAG Esports tried to shuffle themselves up to the front early on. We saw Real Reacher in that 7 car get the lead early on, and a lot of teamwork, a lot of 3 wide. And like I said, it is surprising me how aggressive they're going early on. We're sorry we couldn't get you a replay of that wreck. Unfortunately, iRacing's new damage model puts a load on people's computers, and we start to have a little bit of bad connection. But we're under caution for the first time here at Talladega on lap 4.
First caution, and I believe it'll be first of many that we'll see tonight, and we're only just 4 laps in. That's just a little of a miscommunication. I believe it might have had some issues, but that'll probably be mostly to blame for that incident tonight. It was kind of sad to see the 52 kind of get an exit so early with that, but we'll just continue on in the race. And you see up front, if you can get a good camera view on this, look at all the VAG Esports cars within this top 10. They're all different colors, kind of the colors of the rainbow. It looks like Nyan Cat out there on the racetrack. We see a bunch of Toyota cars out there.
Those cars are certainly looking nice. It also looks like a mix of chrome cars and matte cars. So that's definitely some variation that a lot of teams try to do, but these guys have pulled it off pretty well for themselves.
Yeah, and to mention some of the drivers in this field, some of the more notable drivers in the field, the 54 of Grayson Trexler is the first TrexCo Sim Sport car on the field. The rest are behind him. But if you're the points leader, I want to ask you, if you're the points leader, what kind of strategy do you bring to a track like this? I mean, he's only just shy of 10 points in front of the second car behind him in the point standing. So if you're a driver like, you know, you don't really want to make too many risks. Is this something that you should do? Is it you should kind of play a little conservative? You just kind of run, just kind of keep it consistent.
I think that with the racing we saw up front a little early on, it was kind of sketchy going 3 wide like that. But if I was the points leader, I would try to back out of that. I'm not really trying to race like that early on. Maybe later in the race as the laps wind down, maybe 10-5 to go. I think that's the right decision to try to, try to get up there and try to salvage the points those crucial points that you need as we enter late into the season. But if I was the points leader and it was early on like this, I would try to back out of it.
Yeah, and this 2-race stretch between tonight and next week is just pretty much a wild card race. I mean, you have Talladega here, the Super Speedway, where practically anyone can get a good run, and if you can survive the chaos in this race, you can practically get to the front and get that checkered flag if it's multiple wins in this season. And then next we have the Lanier Dirt Derby. So with these cars on the dirt surface, that's going to be one of the more fun races on the schedule. You can catch that race and the rest of the races and the rest of the schedule to the end championship race on KBRN. All the coverage of the TrexCo iRacing League, and of course Saturday night we'll also bring you the Instagram Quarantine Street Stock Series pre-race show. It is the championship finale tonight, so that's also going to be fun. But right now we're focused on everyone here at Talladega, and I believe we have 2 to green, so we'll still keep on pacing. I already said how long these pace laps are.
Yeah, these pace laps get pretty, they feel like years, especially as you enter late into the race. And if we get those green-white checkers and you just want to get the race over with, I mean, at that point you've been racing for so long. But Daytona and Talladega, those super speedways can really take a toll on your time during the day.
So while we get pacing here on lap 5, we're going to give a shout out to some of our sponsors. You can see them out on the top right of the ticker. We have Supermix, SDC, James Youngerman Designs, who James Youngerman is not in the race here tonight, but he'll certainly. But now, what has happened to the 22 of Liam Sheen? It seems his right front tire is kind of bent. I mean, it doesn't look like that anymore, but kind of on pit road. I'm not sure what happened there.
We don't know if that's strategy. We do see another Dr. Pepper Esports car come down pit road. We don't know if this is strategy early on, but Liam Sheen from the lead has entered pit road.
Yeah, certainly a strange thing right there for Liam Sheen. Not sure why he took that decision, especially this early in the race. You don't really need to get some tires and fuel, but I guess maybe this might be the strategy for Dr. Pepper Esports to kind of give themselves some leeway. And you see other drivers, other Dr. Pepper Esports drivers now on pit road. That is the 37 of Glenn Bundren, who's on pit road as well. So I'm sure this is possibly a strategy between this team, but I think we're going to see the effects of this going into kind of the latter portion of the race.
Yep, and we have not yet reached the run to green mark, so we're going to go ahead and slide ourselves aside for a commercial break really quick as we try to pass the time for this commercial. So stay tuned. We'll be back when the restart comes up.
We are back at North Wilkesboro, North Carolina, where the field is rolling out for the start of today's 400-lap race on this .625-mile racetrack. And just as the field comes around turn number 4, the sunshine peeks through, helping warm things here. Bill Elliott leads him down. Benny Parsons on the outside. The green flag flies, and the first Union 400 Winston Cup race from North Wilkesboro is underway. Everybody nicely through turns number 1 and 2 as Bill Elliott has the lead and Dale Earnhardt has jumped into second position, followed by Benny Parsons and Bobby Allison. So here we go. It's just about to go away. They bump coming out of turn 4. Earnhardt gets the lead. We had just heard from our spotters that Neil Byron. Dale Earnhardt is on his last lap. This will be his 24th career win. Dale Earnhardt wins the first Union 400 at North Wilkesboro.
Welcome back to the Talladega 119. Just about getting set to go green here tonight. I believe the field has been shuffled to just single file, so I believe we'll just have the single file restart for you, and instead of the double, the pace lights are off and we're down in the back straightaway. So just getting ready to go green once again here on lap 7. It's been a short stint, and of course we had the first yellow flag that we couldn't really show you on the replay, but 52 of Kevin White just had a little bit of trouble going into the tri-oval. I believe he got into the 24, and that's pretty much it. He just kind of went into the wall, and just a hard hit for him, and the caution, that was enough to bring the caution flag out. But single file, Jordan Kuntz continues to lead the field after Liam Sheen pitted for not sure what reason. It might be a team strategy, but we'll just see. Jordan Kuntz started on the pole. He leads practically almost every lap other than Liam Sheen, but he's going to lead the field to green. Sami Yaya still behind him. He tried to make a move in the middle of the 3 wide in the first couple laps, and of course we have all the bad G-Sports cars behind them, so it's going to be interesting to see if they decide to make a move on this restart. So the pace car is off. The field will line up single file for the green flag. We'll get you all the action just soon enough as they come down the long tri-oval. And this is just one of those moments where you just kind of, you're waiting. If you're behind the leader, you're kind of waiting for that leader to go, and you're just kind of trying to guess his every move. As here comes the 27, here comes the rest of the field. And as I go into the restart zone, green flag is out. A little bit of a good start for the 49, but so far they keep it clean.
start for him. A lot of guys starting to fan out too wide a little bit. All the Vag Esports drivers are locked to the bottom. They want to get together and they want to go to the front. As we've seen from the past in these races, they work very well for each other. So they're sitting back there, third, taking out most of the top 10.
Yeah, and here's a move by the Vag Esports cars down to the outside. We saw this before. Again, 3 wide for the race lead. Here comes the Vag Esports cars. Jordan Kuntz still sitting on the inside. Samiyaya down in a third, but here's a change for the lead. Almost 4 wide. Here comes the 25 up into the wall, hard into the air. More cars involved. The pole sitters involved. The 4 bunch of drivers wrecking. Oh my goodness, and a huge pileup. Jack DeAndrea was sliding in there as well. I believe he was able to get by. But what heartbreak for Jordan Kuntz, who started on the pole, and Samiyaya, who was having a clean race up until then. You see some of the carnage behind them. The 23 of Zachary Vicari, the 33. 23 still struggling to get around. Glenn Bundren is in that as well. You see Samiyaya going backwards, but oh my goodness, it's a huge pileup here on lap 8. And we'll just try to bring you to give you what kind of happened there. We'll show the replay in just a little bit, so I'm not sure what happened there. There's the read. That was insane pile up there. It started with the 25. He got loose early up on the high side. That was Ruben Caceres in the 25. He was side by side with the 49. The 29 was also up there. They were going 4 wide, and then I believe the 25 just kind of came down on the 49 and then just got sent into the wall hard in the air. He involved a couple other Vag Esports cars. Super hard. Tough break for these guys up front.
Obviously a big red that took out a lot of contenders who were running up front late on. And wow, that's certainly not what you'd like to see early on in a race. But wow, I did not expect them to go 4 wide down the backstretch that early.
Yeah, and I think every prediction we made this race has gone completely wrong in terms of how these guys were going to race. And already we've seen some aggressive moves, and already some cars are bent up and tore up on the racetrack. I believe right now in the is Will Reichard in the 7. He kind of got by that incident down on the bottom to lead prior, just a couple of seconds before they started wrecking behind him. The 29 of Bryson Frank moves himself in a second after being a part of the 4 wide just on the outside, but didn't make contact with them, so he was able to keep going. Keaton Jones is the 3rd car line, and I think the rest of them are just kind of trying to catch up as the rest go on pit road, and this is just an insane amount of carnage early in the race. And I already mentioned chaos, so the chaos is already here.
Yeah, and you know, it is Talladega. There's a lot of unpredictability going on, and this is certainly a product of that 4 wide racing we saw early on, and you just can't make it stick that early. And I think it's a pretty aggressive thing to do early on, and obviously it snaps, and that took out a lot of competitive cars.
But one of the drivers that it did not take out was the 54 Grayson Trexler. That must have been a heart-stopping moment for the 54 going into that corner and seeing all those cars kind of pack up together and get pretty much torn up on most of the field. So we see most of the field now just kind of shuffling together. Now this leaves a bunch of other drivers who were lagging in the back and were just keeping themselves in the rear. Now they're able to top 10, and that's probably not their plan early on. They probably weren't expecting a huge wreck just this early in the run, but now there you see Tyson in the 18. He's another Vag Esport car. He's the only other Vag Esport car in this line so far. I believe the rest of them have had damage. And there's Andrew Ramos, Joe Bergi, James Youngman, who I said was probably not in this race, but he is. So that's a fallacy. That's a fault on my part. And then there's AJ Bain rounding out the top 10 with Chicago winner Blaze McKinney. What chaos in this pretty much the beginning portion of the race.
Yeah, and if it happens early on, you know, the common saying is cautions do breed cautions, and we have 2 cautions in the first 10 laps, only a couple laps of green flag racing. Do you expect to see this kind of carry on into the race, Kenneth, or do you think it'll settle down?
I mean, considering the huge wreck that we just had, I don't really think any other drivers are going to try to make those moves, especially after that. I feel like that was kind of the moment that would scare a lot of other drivers into being like, hey, okay, I'm just going to keep this clean. I'm just going to try to not take my chances so early. There's still a lot of time left in this race. So I believe these guys are going to take it just a little bit more conservatively, and especially with the attrition that we've already had, it's kind of going to narrow down a lot. We're just not going to race this hard.
That is correct, and we're hoping these pace laps can wind down soon. Again, it's Talladega. They take a long time, so we're going to be here a while.
Yeah, we will be here a while. These laps are agonizingly long, and if you're a driver, you're just kind of itching to get back to the green flag, and seeing that pace car in front with those lights on is kind of a reminder that, hey, like, there's still time left, and you just kind of waiting and waiting to get that green flag. I'm not sure whether the admins will give a single file restart like they did last time, so we'll just take a look and see what kind of will happen within the next couple hours. And wow, just ready, just a huge pileup, and just lots of shuffling within the field. And I was not expecting to see 3 and especially 4 wide early in this race, but we've already seen some of that. So I'm pretty much shocked right now at the moment.
And you talk about the strategies, a lot of those Dr. Pepper esports cars running up front. But in the back, we see a lot of, we see a lot of Vag esports cars running up front. But in the back, we see a lot of those Dr. Pepper cars. Looks like they're taking the conservative route. Looks like we got Kelan Belsha back here, Liam Sheen, Jack DeAndrea. All these Dr. Pepper cars who are assigned just for today are opting for the stay in the back strategy and hoping to avoid wrecks like we just saw.
Yeah, we mentioned the Dr. Pepper Esports, and Jack DeAndrea, one of those drivers. He's not running a Dr. Pepper Esports scheme tonight, and neither is Blaze McKinney, who I believe is also on Dr. Pepper Esports just for tonight at TAP. But they're certainly showing their colors out tonight, and Blaze McKinney is just one of my favorite schemes. It's the Ricky Bobby Talladega night scheme where it says me on the front. It's kind of that blackish brown orange car in the field. That's one of the more looking cars in the field. And then we go to the yellow and black 28 of Jack DeAndrea, who's supported by Buffalo Wild. So just interesting cars here tonight. And you mentioned Dr. Pepper Esports. I feel like they have cars torn up from the wreck, and I believe they already have to pair, but they're starting near the rear of the field. People like Carl Faust, people like Zachary Vicari, who is involved. I believe behind them there's just a couple more Vag Esports cars. Not really, but still, just all the Vag Esports cars. Now they're a little bit separated. So do you think they're gonna kind of hook up together on this restart as soon as we go green? You think they're just kind of just staying in line for now until they find each other?
Well, we saw it a little bit early on. They did try to line up right up against the wall and propelled one of their drivers. That's the 7 car, Will Reachard. They did propel him out to the front, so I think we'll see them try to get formed up and try to go back to the front, just like we saw in the past few restarts.
All right, well, as you mentioned that, they just get out of turn number 2 and down the back straightaway, the long Alabama gang super stretch for the final time until we go green on lap 12 or lap 13, I believe it'll be, once we take the green flag. And you see these other drivers. If you're these drivers, you really want to take opportunity of what just happened there, especially if you're a guy like Keaton Jones. Keaton Jones right now is 6th in the point standings. He lost a spot after IRP, lost grasp of the top 5, and he's a driver of pretty much 2 races, 2 in a row. He's won 2 races in a row this season, so if he can get that momentum back on his side with a win here at Talladega, I feel like that'll kind of propel his momentum and his team's momentum into going into the final races into the second half.
Yeah, and these races are especially crucial. You know, as we mentioned the points earlier, Grayson Trucks are trying to maintain a good points lead, but also trying to be conservative in this race. I think this race is very crucial, especially for drivers who are trying to make their way into the playoff battle. And as we embark on the second half of the season, all you want to do is get points, and you want to finish well, run consistent. And it looks like the pace car is pulling off, and we're getting ready to go green again.
Yep, and the pace car will embark his way into pit road, and we'll get the green flag just shortly. The 7 of Will Reichard will lead the field to green, and the purple Vag car behind him will be the 29 of Bryson Keaton, Grace Wexler, and the other Vag car of Ty Smith, rounding out the top 5. So now as they head into the latter portion of this of this tryover. Here we go. The green flag is out. Single file back green here at Talladega.
And again, we see a bit of fanning out happening in the back. Drivers trying to get into the moves. As already fanning out too wide. Drivers trying to find their teammates and trying to make that way to the front.
And here's already a battle for the lead. Bryson Frank with Keaton Jones up on the high side. The two Chevrolets are working together to get themselves to the front, and they are to do so. I believe Keaton Jones is not just clear yet, but they are clear now, and they go down to the low side. But here's Keaton Jones down on the low side on the quarter panel, almost there to turning him, but he'll file back. Huge risk right there, but it seems the outside line and the inside line are forming behind them into turn 3.
Yeah, and Keaton Jones went a little bit below the apron. That move can be criticized a lot. It can be cheeky, but it is allowed in the iRacing service, but depending on league rules, sometimes it doesn't allow of it. But it looks like he was forced down there, but he did back out. And he is outside for the race lead with the VAG sports car right behind him to help.
Yep, he does. That is Keaton Jones now, and we have another on the racetrack. That's our 3rd yellow tonight. We're going to try to get this replay for you and see what happened. I believe it wasn't such a big wreck, but I think we had a car near the rear of the field kind of get into trouble. We're going to try to get that replay for you again. It's been tough to get replay here at Talladega, especially with some of the damage models on iRacing that kind of caused, but I believe I see the cause of the yellow. That was, not sure who that might have been. Oh, that was the 87 of Blaze McKinney who got around on the racetrack. We'll take a look and see what happened there. Just a tough break for the 87. Get a look right there. And it was another incident down in the tri-oval. See, he was going down the tri-oval. I believe he gets just a little bit loose on the apron, and then he sent around by Curtis Granger, who is kind of trying to give his momentum, trying to give a bump, and it's kind of risky to give these bumps in these ARGA cars.
Yeah, and one thing we haven't really mentioned is these ARGA cars can be really touchy. They just came out with a new damage model in the last season's build, so that's made these bumpers a lot more touchy. And you can go inside of their bumper a little bit, but then when you hit that fuel sink with your front bumper, they're going to get sent around. And one example of that is what just happened with Blaze McKinney and Curtis Granger. Yeah,
these ARGA Menards, Chevrolet Impalas don't have the kind of straightest front bumper. They kind of have a curve that slopes down, and especially with the curve going up near the rear bumper of the car, it's if you can your nose in there, it's kind of pretty much risky and can easily send the car around. As we have drivers down on note, that's Glenn Bundren Jr. in the 37. There was a VAG esports car that went down with him. There's Curtis Granger. There's another Dr. Pepper esports car and Liam Sheen. Bunch of drivers now taking their pits on the racetrack, and behind them, that is not Glenn Bundren Jr. There's Jackson Steiner in the 97 also going for service on pit road. Do you think this might be a strategy going into this race, especially since we have more cautions and guys are kind of wasting a little bit more fuel? You think they're kind of saving? You think is there anything else with this fuel strategy you might know?
I think that the Dr. Pepper esports cars keep going down pit lane. I think that is a strategy for them to try to go down to the back and kind of save their stuff, not use that fast repair yet. But yeah, I think there's a lot of strategy going on when you go down pit road that many times. And yeah, it's all about saving your car in this race. We have already completed 15 laps of 45, but you do want to save your car at the track, and you really want to be there at the end, especially with this large field.
Saving the car is the motto if you're here at Talladega. We'll take a short break here on KBRN. We'll bring you some commercials, and we'll take you right back to the action. Certainly a caution on lap number 15, our 4th caution of the night. Stay tuned here at Talladega.
We got big time problems with that motor, buddy. Hey, just between you and me, the idea is to avoid the other cars. Congratulations! You just set the sport back 30 years with that move. That move will put you in the Hall of Shame. You keep doing stuff like that and we're gonna lose our sponsor. Looks like that's it for us today. Now I know why you got canned by your old team. It's over. We can't fix that damage. Looks like your car is toast. You'll need a tow back to pit lane. Press and hold your reset button and we'll come and get you.
Back here live at Daytona. 45 laps around this place. Sorry, Talladega, my bad. Keaton Jones lead us under caution. I think our third caution of the night here at Talladega. And just anxiously waiting for that green flag to drop once again. And if you see kind of the wider shots of this track, the humidity is going up as we see a 1% humidity, but it is getting pretty foggy out, and as you see in our weather outlook, uh, it is foggy, and it is kind of hard to see on long distances, but that does mean the track will get gripped up more, and we'll kind of see more abrupt moves and abrupt wheel movements from these guys. I think so, and still, when you're waiting in the back, you want to. One of the main goals is to try to avoid the big one. And we've seen a couple smaller wrecks, but I don't really think that big one has struck yet. I hope it doesn't strike, of course, as a fan and someone who's watching. But yeah. Another car who's trying to looming inside the top 10 right now. The 83 of Joe Burgee in that Red Bull car is signed for Dr. Pepper Esports tonight, but he's up there. He's looming into the top 10, and he's also hoping for a good points night tonight. Hasn't really made as much starts as the others, but once again, is hoping for a good night tonight.
Yeah, whenever you see Joe Burgee, you're always going to see those Red Bull colors on his car and on the sides of his car. He's pretty much loyal to Red Bull on the racetrack here at iRacing, and so far he's having a pretty good run just inside of the top 10. Also behind him is another driver who's kind of hanged out in the back. He was involved in the first caution with the 52 of Kevin White. That is Corey Blevins in the 24. He's running a Camaro scheme tonight, which is pretty much just interesting with these Impalas, but a nice scheme tonight. He's running the 24 Keys Architects and Associates. I believe that's a local company, but he's running pretty well right now, as I believe we have the 1 to green signal. Yes, we do. The lights are off on the pace car, and that means we'll go green next time by. Pretty good.
Getting ready to go green. Keaton Jones is going to lead them as the pace car is below the apron. A little bit of a different start right here. Drivers up against the wall. This is a very old classic style, 1900s NASCAR restart style, up against the wall. But we're getting ready to go green. Keaton Jones in that 48 car is getting ready to send them off, coming to the trial. Getting ready to do so. Green flag is out, and off they go.
Good start for the 48 of Keaton Jones behind them, and we have another yellow on the racetrack. I believe being a delayed green. It might be. I don't think there was any attack between some of these drivers. We see the 24. He's ducking to the low side, and he's just kind of stopped. He just reset his car, so I don't know whether that might have been kind of some contact there. I'm looking at the replay from the 24. It looks like the 83 and the 24 kind of got stacked up on the restart, but it didn't look like enough to bring out the caution. I don't believe anybody went around, but I believe it was just a delayed green on the part of the admins, just kind of deciding it might not be the best way to take them green. So we'll go for a little bit more pace laps, and we'll go back green just shortly. But interesting decision there. I'm not sure what might have happened.
Yeah, but on the restart, we saw a big checkup starting with the Veg Esports car, and a lot of Dr. Pepper Esports cars getting collected in this. That's Kelan Belsha going around, collecting a 16 of Henry Tabor. A big stack up in the back. That's a common mistake that is made with these single-file restarts, and we saw it there. It looks like it begins with the 83 of Mitch Hobbs and the 23 of Zach Kari, just stacking up, and Kelan Belsha finally goes around, and that's what brings out our next caution of the night. Really unfortunate to see these cautions that keep coming out. But, I don't know, your thoughts, Kenneth?
Yeah, it's unfortunate for the number 1 of Kelan Belsha. He was having a clean race up until that point, and he was running pretty well. And we talked to him prior to the race while the practice sessions were wrapping up, and he said he was kind of a little bit confident. He said he wanted to keep it clean and keep it conservative, and pretty much what he was doing up until the caution. And tough break for him. He's got some damage, but I believe he'll just go back in pit road, and he can easily get that fixed. I'm not sure if it's that much optional damage on his part, but Kelan Belsha with a rough night. After that, he was having a pretty good night up until this point. So just a tough break for him in the one.
Under caution again. Just a little caution report. This is our 4th caution of the night. Just in 20 laps. That's about 1 caution every 5 laps. 13 caution laps. That's about 7 green flag laps. So over 50% of the race has been under caution. Certainly not what you like to see, but we do have 4 lead changes. And the fastest lap of the race is the 48.666. I'm not sure who that's set by, but yeah, under caution again. Not really like what you like to see here, but hopefully we'll get some green flag racing pretty soon.
And you mentioned the lead changes. There hasn't been so much, as we haven't seen that many green flag laps on the racetrack. We've seen mostly cautions, but the green flag laps have certainly provided some interesting racing with some guys already making some moves. And of course, that adds to the attrition on the racetrack as Keaton Jones continues to lose. And these agonizingly long laps at Talladega ain't really helping with getting this race back underway. We're just almost about halfway through the race, so there's still a lot of racing left to go. And with these cautions, it's pretty much eliminated kind of the topic of a green flag run, which we haven't really much tonight.
Yep, and these cars, yeah, really any car around Daytona, you might see this sort of racing, lots of cautions, lots of wrecks, but really is unfortunate to see, but we are hoping to see some more green flag racing later on.
Yep, and as the laps wind down and just about halfway through the race, we're getting to the tri-oval. See if anybody takes some steps down pit road. Yes, we will. That'll be the 7. I believe if he'll fake it, he will fake it, so he won't go down pit road. I don't believe any other drivers are making their way down pit road. We've seen, yeah, there is some drivers actually behind them. That is Joe Knuckle in the 24, or not the 24 at least. Oh, yes, the 24. Yes, the 24. I believe there's already 24 with the car numbers hidden, but he's on pit road. We have a VAG Esports car on pit road as well. We're going to take a look and see who that is. I think it might have been Jackson Hartman from the color of the race car. I think we're just going to take a little bit of a look and see who that might be. Yeah, he is on pit road. The 99 is also on pit road with heavy damage. I believe that was from the first wreck. So he's going to come out of pit road and get his service down there. So pretty interesting for these, but not so much pitting wise in this race.
Yeah, and cars trying to get some extra drops of fuel in that tank. I mean, at this point, when you're riding around with a lot of cautions, that is burning a lot of fuel. So we're not sure of the fuel run here tonight, but those cars coming down pit road definitely do want to be safe and try to top off every time they come down under caution.
And of course, just to mention now that we have the time under caution, we're just going to mention that if you want to join the thousands of iRacers across the world, you can join iRacing.com for pretty much to sign up to get on this service. It's a service that costs a little bit of money, but that money is definitely worth it. So you can go on www.iracing.com/memberships and start your racing career, your sim racing career on iRacing.com. And it's a lot of fun here on iRacing. We have been on iRacing for a while. As soon as a lot of these guys have also been on iRacing as well. They've had some experience. So if you want to start your sim racing career, you can go to www.iracing.com/membership. So now that we're on lap number 21, we're getting set to kind of conclude lap number 21. Keaton Jones is going backwards on the racetrack. Not sure what that is, but he's into the wall on the pace lap. What has happened there with the 48?
A bit of tomfoolery here. As you saw on the back straightaway, he's whipped his car around backwards. But he'll come down for pit road and try to get some of that damage repaired. That's going to hand Bryson Frank the lead here under caution. You know, cautions do bring boredom when these are very long cautions, especially on this long track. But that boredom certainly showing, as we saw a lot of cars kind of fanning out down the back straightaway. But hopefully we get to run the green this time, and hopefully we'll see some more green flag racing.
Yeah, you see some other drivers on pit road. That is Mitch Hobbs in the 97. I believe Jackson Hartman is back down pit road. Yes, he is one of the drivers. Of course, Keaton Jones, who we saw made that damage. Got some of the damage already in this car from his little shenanigans on the racetrack. But a couple of drivers down on pit road, but practically everyone else stays out. And I believe if you're these drivers, you're just kind of saving your fuel for the time that you need it. And especially with these cautions, it's pretty much the perfect opportunity to get some of that fuel still in the gas tank and not waste as much. You can kind of clutch and coast around this large track, and you don't really have to put in too much throttle just to keep up with these guys at a slow pace.
Yep, and I want to catch up to the pack before the green flag goes back out. But you know, it's felt like a long time since we've seen some green flag racing. I'm pretty excited to go back green in just a few short laps. But Kenneth, I have to ask, with this aggressive racing that we've been seeing, that's been spewing some wrecks all over the place. Do you expect to see this as we enter almost our second half of the race, or do you expect to see them kind of realize what they're doing and try to be more conservative.
I mean, the last caution really wasn't that many cars. It was just a couple of cars, and it was on the restart. And they're going to go double file here, so hopefully it won't be too much of an issue, and that means we can pretty much see some more green flag racing as well as 2-3 wide. But I feel like these guys will kind of just calm down a little bit, especially if you're the guys in the Dr. Esports field. You're kind of just hanging in the back, and even hanging in the back has its own trouble. So, you know, I feel like if you're those guys, you have to keep trying, keep going, and just can't give up here at Talladega. It's a really treacherous track, and you know, it can really throw some curveballs at you, and you can kind of get caught off guard. But of course, we'll get 1 to green here. And if you're a driver at Talladega, you got to be tough. And these drivers are certainly tough on the racetrack. You see some guys just going in. There's a guy going into the grass there, just kind of messing around. But we will get the green flag just soon enough. And yes, you are right about the boredom here at Talladega. It's gotten really, really boring. See a couple of these other drivers just pacing around at a slow pace.
We get the 1 green this time, getting ready to go green next lap. These super speedways really do test your boredom, or your patience, I should say. These cars, we appreciate these drivers being patient with the cautions and the caution laps and the time we spent under caution, but hopefully we get to see more excitement. Next time by, we'll be taking the green flag, drivers lining up single file once again, and yeah, I'm excited.
And the cars will line up, and of course you said the appreciation, and we appreciate everyone down in the YouTube chat watching right now on KBRN. I know it's been just a little bit of a slugfest here at Talladega, but once we get back green, we'll see what happens, and of course we're determined to bring you all the good action here on KBRN, and of course you can continue to tune in to KBRN within the next couple weeks. It'll be exciting. I'm excited for the next weeks ahead, especially with the pre-race show for the finale. I'm not sure whether that'll be broadcasted. We're kind of getting the deal in for that right now, but if we broadcast it here, you can catch it here or wherever we announce it. And the TrexCo iRacing League, of course, makes its run to the dirt next week at Lanier Dirt Derby. So, of course, if you want to continue tuning in to support this channel, give us a subscribe. Give us that subscription, I should say. At least click the subscribe button and show some support. We appreciate all the support from everyone down here. We work very, very hard here at KBRN.
Yeah, and speaking of excitement, I'm pretty excited for next week, the Lanier Dirt Derby. It's going to be a fun twist on these cars. These cars aren't really meant for dirt, but I'm pretty excited. It should be an exciting race, and yeah, we'll see how these guys do.
All right, well, I believe it is single once again for the start. So the pace car will come off into pit road. He'll make his way down to the pit road in just a little bit, and we'll get to the tri-oval and bring you some green flag racing back here at Talladega. You see the virtual stands are packed with the virtual fans here at Talladega, and they're ready for this race to go back green. And here they come off the tri-oval. Bryson Frank leads your field to green. Will Reichard behind him. That'll be Grayson Trexler, James Youngerman, and AJ Bain rounding out the top 5. Off of tri-oval, green flag is out once again here on lap 24.
Frank leading the green flag. Banning out once again too wide. All those bad G-Sports drivers trying to get to the bottom as quick as they can. But yeah, Grayson Trexler is trailing behind in 3rd place. He does have the other TrexCo driver of James Youngerman behind him as James hops up the high line. I kind of expected James to go with Grayson since Grayson is his team owner. But down the back straightaway, green flag again. We do see James Youngerman has a bit of damage to that rear end, but he's going to take the lead with AJ Bain right behind him. AJ swings to the inside, takes that spot from him. Now AJ Bain is your lead.
You saw Joe Berge was also to follow suit behind AJ Bain. He now takes second. James Youngerman is now stuck on the high side. Sami Yaya making it 3 wide once again in the 33, who we kind of didn't see much of in this race. He's making a charge up to the front as you see a couple of these drivers now 2 by 2 into turn 1.
And for the race lead, Sami Yaya on the outside in that little Ryan Newman little tribute paint scheme. Trying to get up there as AJ Bain is going to lead him off of turn 2 with Joe Berge trailing right behind.
Yeah, Joe Berge and AJ Bain just kind of came out of nowhere on the start, and they kind of just made the charge on Bryson Frank, who now sits third on the inside line. But I believe now that we've seen some of the cautions, they're starting to get a little bit more aggressive. We see a car back in the wall. He'll be fine. He'll keep it straight and will stay green. You see Sami Yaya getting some help on the outside. They might get the run coming into the trial.
That 88 Oreo race car of AJ Bain still looking out in front. He'll lead lap number 25 as we embark on the second half of the race. We're looking 3 wide a little bit in the back. Big save for that number 5 car, Ranger Run, which got into the wall, but is able to save that race car and keep it going.
Yeah, Andrew Ramos had a scary moment there, but he was able to keep it straight. He'll file on the outside and let these guys by, and he'll file back into the draft. But so far, 2 by 2 by 2 all the way down the back straightaway. Frank on the inside. Sami Yaya trying to make it still 2 wide on the outside, and there's a bad G-Sports car behind them. That's one of the drivers who was leading earlier in the race. That is Will Reichert on the high side.
Joe Berger thinking about hopping up to that high lane. He sees that opportunity to take the lead with Sami Yaya leading the high lane. He's ready to take it when he gets that run, but so far staying right behind AJ Bain and helping him lead this thing.
And look who's looking 3 wide on the outside. That's Keaton Jones, the man who was leading the race and just kind of took himself out of first place with that wreck. And Holko, here comes the 33 down the racetrack, hard into the wall. Goes a couple of drivers and some couple drivers involved. I believe a Dr. Pepper Esports car is involved in that as well. A big wreck for the 33. There's somebody over on his roof. That is Grayson Trexler, your points leader.
Grayson Trexler on his roof. He doesn't get back flipped over. He does, but wow, a lot of damage to that 54 car. He's going to have to use that fast repair that he's been trying to save the whole race. And we're going to go ahead and get a replay of this wreck really quick for you guys. And obviously a big pile up heading into turn number 3. And oh wow, that is the big one here at Talladega. As you see, entering turn number 3, it looks like we'll just have to see what happened. Oh, the 33 car got bumper hooked by Keaton Jones, and the chaos ensued from there. A lot of hard hits. Grayson Trexler ended up on his roof after that one. And wow, lots of flipping for that 54 car. And he'll get it back going with all of that damage somehow. And they'll bring it back to pit lane.
Yeah, we saw Keaton Jones making the run on the high side, and I think he just got a little bit too eager and just kind of, the 33 kind of checked up just a little bit onto the bumper. And we mentioned how kind of squirrely these bumpers can get if you bump another car, and that sent the 33 down the racetrack. And James Youngman was just a victim of that, had nowhere to go. Grayson Trexler went hard into the wall, and he went up and over. Huge hit for the points leader tonight here at Talladega, and that's kind of what we expected from the field, especially from the chaos that I mentioned earlier in the race, and it's continuing to happen.
And all I have to say is wow. And, you know, I kind of expected these drivers to kind of sort themselves out and try to run a little bit more conservatively. But wow, that is another big wreck for these guys, and a lot of them, some of them probably are taken out of the race at this point. But a lot of them have to use that fast repair that they're hoping not to use, and to repair that damage. So.
What was interesting is that I saw that the VAG Esports cars didn't really work with each other on that restart. I believe they were just kind of stuck, and they really had nowhere to go in terms of finding each other on the racetrack. They were kind of in all 3 lanes. There was at least one VAG Esport car in each of the lanes. So, and we saw Will Reichert, who was just almost involved in that incident. The 33 just kind of came down, and as soon as he was going down the racetrack, the Will Reichert just had a little bit of space, and that space came to good for him, and he was able to get away from that unscathed and without getting hooked from the 33.
Yep, and as we see Grayson Trexler, who uses one fast repair to get that damage fixed from that flip, put himself out back on the racetrack. And yeah, AJ Bain still leads the field on their caution. He was leading at the time of caution. But a lot of these drivers looking, they came out of pit lane.
Yeah, we see drivers getting on pit lane, taking their repairs, and of course, Grayson Trexler was one of those drivers, and he was able to get his fast repair that he saved up early in the race, so he'll be able to come back fresh and new on the racetrack. He'll just be starting farther back in the field, but especially with the amount of cautions we have here. The field has been just narrowed down, especially since we had a stacked field at the entry list.
You know, as one of my favorite drivers, Brendan Gaughan, once said, this is what you call thinning the herd. And that is certainly what is happening tonight with all these wrecks. I don't know, a bit of a funny quote from one of my all-time favorite drivers. But, yeah, a lot of these drivers, especially towards the back, have a lot of damage.
Yeah, Brendan Gaughan knows what it feels like to have some trouble here at Talladega, and he already knows what it feels like to be upside down on the racetrack, and that's kind of what happened to Grayson Trexler on that caution. So, running out about lap number 30, the pace car will come down the tri-oval, and we have another caution tonight, and we've had a caution-filled race. It's been nothing short of chaos, and we'll be right back. We'll give you more of the action once we come back from the commercial break. We'll just take a break. Stay tuned here on KBRN. This is the Talladega 119.
Back at North Wilkesboro, North Carolina, where the field is rolling out for the start of today's 400-lap race on this 0.625-mile racetrack. And just as the field comes all around turn number 4, the sunshine peeks through, helping warm things here. Bill Elliott leads him down. Benny Parsons on the outside. The green flag flies, and the first Union 400 Winston Cup race from North Wilkesboro is underway. Everybody nicely through turns number 1 and 2 as Bill Elliott has the lead and Dale Earnhardt has jumped into second position, followed by Benny Parsons and Bobby Allison. So here we go. It's just about to go away. They both coming out of turn 4. Earnhardt gets the lead. We had just heard from our spotters that Neil Juane. Dale Earnhardt is on his last lap. This will be his 24th career win. Dale Earnhardt wins the first Union 400 at North Wilkesboro.
Back live here at Talladega under our 6th caution of the night. And drivers patiently waiting to go back green this time. And it's been a wreck-filled race. I mean, I hope we see some more green flag racing after this green flag comes out. We're at the 1 to green mark this time. So drivers lining up and getting ready to send it off once again.
And from the admin, Curtis Granger, he says that the restart will be changed to double file. So we'll go back double file racing. On the restart, we were going single file the past couple of times, but now we're going double file. So this will give another opportunity to make those moves. Now on the outside, we've seen some crazy moves on the outside, especially with making some draft partners. And that's one of the more interesting things we've seen tonight is how these drivers have reacted to the other drivers around them. They've kind of hooked up with some of the other drivers that we maybe didn't expect to see. Some drivers are kind of independent, so they're not really with a team, so they just kind of go with anybody. But what has been the most interesting kind of hookup you've seen between some of these drivers out here?
Yeah, and speaking of hookups, one of the things I like is, you know, some of the teamwork that's going on. But I think it's very important to find your friends on these restarts. And, you know, as we go green flag racing again, your friends are where they find them. And, you know, you kind of want to hook up with that person that'll help you the most and that you can trust, even if it's a teammate or it's some random guy that you've been racing all race, but you've raced them enough in which you trust them. So I think it's very important as we embark. Almost 15 laps to go. We're at the 15 laps to go mark. We'll be going back green with 14 laps to go.
Yeah, and if you're the friends of Dr. Pepper Esports, you kind of want to start making those moves up to the front. They spent most of this race in the rear of the field, just kind of looking out for any cautions. They've kind of kept themselves out of trouble, and they've kind of just hanged in the back of the field. But I feel like now as the laps start to wind down, you kind of need to start making those moves and start working together more closely to make a run for the front. As the pace car comes off, we'll go into the long tri-oval once again. It'll be AJ Bain and Joe Berge leading the field to green. Bryson Frank, Sami Yaya behind them. Rounding out the top 5 was the man who was leading a lot of this race, Will Reichard in the number 7 in the Badge Sports machine. Down the tri-oval once more. We'll be going to the green. AJ Bain will take off, and we'll get the green flag for you right now. Green flag is out on the racetrack, and here we go back again at Talladega on lap number 32. Drivers get sped up. Another caution. Oh no, there goes Joe Berge down low. He got spun. The 24's in the wall. The 23 of Zachary Vicari is around. And once again, we have another yellow on the racetrack, and just heartbreaking. Some of the guys like Bryson Frank, who was trying to make a charge race lead and just couldn't get it done in time. And I think we'll give the replay, and I believe it was more apparent this time what really happened out in the front of the field. Is I believe there was kind of some carnage behind them. We'll take a look at the wider angle. I'm kind of looking at the wider angle, see what happened. You see Joe Berge get turned. Joe Berge, excuse me, he gets turned, and then some other drivers kind of pack up behind him. And another caution here at Talladega, and it's what's been a pretty much caution-filled night here at Talladega for the ARGA series.
And we saw the wreck kind of happen in turn number 2. I can't recall who that is, but they got stuffed into the outside wall on his side. But the wreck did continue down the back straightaway. Joe Berge did get turned off of turn number 2. Zach Vicari got hit once more by the 96 of Peter Kenny. And just a tough situation to be in, as we were under caution for, I believe, the 7th time.
Yep, and then there's a decision made by the race control. Mitch Hobbs was given an EOL. I'm not sure whether he was mainly the part of that accident, but he will get an EOL, so he will start at the end of the line on this next restart. And now we saw the Dr. Pepper Esports guys. I'm not sure whether there was some of the Dr. Pepper Esports guys that was involved in that wreck. I kind of saw them dip low and kind of get around that, but I believe most of them are still intact. But heartbreaking for Joe Berge in the 83. Was having a really, really good run up until he got turned.
That 12 car of Carl Fallis, I don't believe he has another faster pair, and he is stuck in the pit road right now in his stall. That might be the end of his day, as the pace car comes around. He might go lap down.
Yep, Carl Fallis, not the night he wanted tonight. And he wanted to repeat that kind of success he had earlier this year in the first race of the season at Daytona, but doesn't look like it'll happen tonight for the 12 of Carl Fallis. So they'll regroup and they'll come back for Lanier next week. But AJ Bain, one of the more surprising drivers we've seen up front. He didn't really look so prominent there in the field. He was just kind of hanging within the middle, just kind of keeping himself clean and just kind of picking the right guys. And now he's all the way up front. So could this be a really good run for this 88 team? You think they can kind of capture the checker flag with what's happened here tonight?
Especially with these cautions that are still coming out, and yeah, they look to be still coming out. AJ Bain can maintain this lead, and you know, if we kind of push it into a green-white checker, it's only a 2-lap shootout, so all he has to do at that point is just kind of fend the field off. I know that's more easy said than done, but all he has to do is just kind of stay ahead of them, and he has a good shot to the victory.
See Brody Garner in the 55 down in P9, but he's making a visit to the front pack, just kind of saying hi to the other drivers up there. Brody Garner, also one of the quieter drivers in the field. He's hung within the back, but his car is A-OK, 100%. And he's hanging just inside of the top 10, but if he can make a good move, we might see some guys make some moves with him, and he could be in control of this field. Again, 2 Chevys in the front. The third car is Toyota. Then we head to a Ford with Sami Yaya. Also, Will Reichard is the only car within the top 5 to be a VAG Esports car. Ruben Caceres down in 6th place, who was involved in the big one, is in 6th place, and he's just outside the top 5, but he's a little bit far from his VAG Esports teammate.
Yep, and speaking of pit stops, the only 2 cars who have not pit this entire race are sitting 2nd and 3rd. That's Brian Frank and Will Reichard. Just a bit of a fact there as we still pace, but those are the only 2 cars who have not yet pit. AJ Bain has pit 2 times. I'm not sure if that was for damage or for fuel top off for tires or what the deal is there, but he's made himself a very prominent threat to this race late on.
Yep, AJ Bain could make the move for the win. You see all the VAG Esports cars kind of just hanging around the grass right now. I think they might have a little team meeting before we go green. Here, just having a little team meeting, getting themselves set together and what their plan is for the next restart. And we have the big teams in this here, and VAG Esports is one of the biggest teams here tonight, and they have a bunch of cars in the point standings, and Will Reichard's really shown out tonight in the 7. He's pretty much shown the VAG Esports guys what it's like being up front as the rest of the guys kind of file behind. They've kind of kept themselves within each other, but Will Reichard has kept himself out front. It's been very, very impressive night for him.
Yep, and that number 7 Toyota VAG Esports car will be starting right behind AJ Bain on this restart, and just hoping to get a good finish here. I'm not sure if he excuse me, never mind. Yeah, he is hoping to get a good finish here tonight in that VAG Esports car. He still's got a lot of hope from those VAG Esports cars behind him, but yeah, he's hoping to hook up with them and maybe shoot to the front.
Well, I mentioned Dr. Pepper Esports and how they might want to make a move to the front now, and these guys are already making their way quietly, but still making the progress. Henry Tabor is the first Dr. Pepper Esports car in the top 10. He's 10th right now. Jack DeAndrea is behind him in 11th, and there's Liam Sheen. And then I believe the next Dr. Pepper Esports car is Kelan Belsha down in 15th, and it goes all the way back to Glenn Bundren back there, and there's some other drivers behind him. But Dr. Pepper Esports, they're making a slow move to the front. I think this might be their strategy. But now that we have 10 laps to go, these guys got to really make the move, and the draft is really complicated here at Talladega, and I know it's kind of hard to get some runs, especially with some other drivers, and especially with the way these other drivers have handled around the Dr. Pepper Esports guys. So it's going to be tough for these guys. It's a tall task, but I feel like these guys can really stick together, and they might be there at the end.
Yeah, and of course in these super speedways, it is quantity over quality. Of course, it can go both ways, but especially in a race where, like this, you want to get the most guys possible to try to work together and get yourself towards the front. We're definitely seeing that with kind of the 3-team rivalry between VAG Esports, TrexCo SimSport. I know we haven't seen a lot of their cars up front anymore, but those Dr. Pepper Esports cars also were looming right outside of the top 10.
Yes, sir, indeed. And also one of the drivers I want to mention is Sami Yaya, who's been possibly one of the most consistent drivers up here in the field, along with Bryson Frank. I know Keaton Jones has just worked himself back into the top 5 after what happened on the last caution, but Sami Yaya with an impressive run here tonight. He started just outside on the first row, and he hasn't really disappointed when it comes to the restarts. He's been involved in 3 wide action, and he's kept it clean, and his car is pretty much perfect on the racetrack. It's one of the better looking cars in the field, especially here at Talladega, where the bumpers can get crunched up a little more than they do at a lot of other tracks. But Sami Yaya is certainly a driver to watch here at Talladega. He's been consistent, and with that Ryan Newman paint scheme, he can pretty much make a run to the front, I feel like, if he wants to. I feel like he's gained the respect of the drivers around him in terms that they can give him a run, especially in the closing laps of this race.
Yeah, And down the back straightaway, we're 1 to green, so we're getting ready to go back racing. We're going to take the green flag with 9 laps to go, so a majority of the race under caution, but we definitely do hope to see some green flags racing towards the end.
Yes, sir. We are down to see some green flag racing, especially some more tight battles. And I know this track can bring the best out of some of the drivers in terms of making bold moves and making some exciting racing here at Talladega. We've seen the best and the worst here tonight. Not tonight, especially in Talladega in general. And I know that these guys can kind of bring themselves up and make a run for the lead and have some fun up here. Well, the pace car will go off of turn number 4. It'll dive down once again and make the journey to the pit road. AJ Bain is your leader. Bryson Frank behind him. Will Reichard in 3rd. Sami Yaya down in 4th. Keenan Jones rounds out the top 5. And these guys will come up on the outside. Single file once again. They keep changing the restarts here with the admins, but I believe, not sure what that's all about, but here they come down the tri-oval. Green flag is back out here on lap number 37.
AJ Bain will lead him to the green flag. And seeing this whole race, drivers trying to fan out and try to get to the bottom as quickly as possible, though AJ Bain's sticking to stop. Now he sticks down to the bottom with Bryson Frank right behind him. And barreling through turn 1 into turn 2. So far single file, but we do expect him to widen out down the backstretch, and there we go.
So far, so good. Here's Sami Yaya down on the outside, trying to make a move for the lead. I mentioned this earlier before we went green. He could make a move to the front in the closing laps, and here he is up front alongside the 88, but it looks like he's not going to get much help. There's the Vag Esports guys behind him. They've hooked up together. They've found each other on the racetrack, and now they're looking up to the front. I believe Grayson Trexler is one of the guys down on the outside line. No, he is not. That's a Vag Esport car. I couldn't really see what happened there. Here's 3 wide with the 22 of Liam Sheen down the outside.
Dr. Pepper Esports driver Liam Sheen making his appearance toward the front once again, and we are assembling a 3-wide race. Curtis Granger also goes up to help. Andrew Ramos looking high, and Sami Yaha will take the race lead on lap 38.
Took enough time for Sami Yaya to get to the front of the field, and now he's where he wants to be. But here are the Vag Esport guys. Will Reichard in the 77 of Curtis Granger down on the outside. Almost 4 wide. We are 4 wide down the back straightaway. AJ Bain, the Vag Esport guys. There's Sami Yaya and the 22 of Liam Sheen into turn 3.
And they are making it stick. We saw this before it happened in a wreck, but it looks like they are maintaining good posture. 4 wide. That was pretty close there, but the 7 car, Will Reichard, has now put himself back out front in the lead on lap 30.
You see how quick the field shuffles here at Talladega and how things can change so dramatically as now Will Reichard takes command of the field. AJ Bain still on the inside has kept himself there. Now the Dr. Pepper Esport car of Liam Sheen is pushing the 77 of Granger, and Keaton Jones up to the front behind them. Brody Garner, who's making a charge to the front late in this running. And of course we have Joe Burgee out there on the outside who got his fast repair. He's now coming up on the outside lane.
And looking 3 wide again for the race lead. Keaton Jones goes to help. He abandons him. Liam Sheen in that 22 car tried to make it 3, but has no help behind him. He'll begin his journey to the back as he is in the sucker hole.
Yeah, we've seen now the 2 lines forming more than they ever did in this race, and we've seen already the 3 wide moves, but here they are still side by side, and now these are 2 teammates up on the front of the field. The teams, they're kind of battling with each other. You see some more 3 wide action behind them as Liam Sheen kind of loses the draft on the second line, but so far it is looking beautiful here at Talladega as they come off of turn number 2.
Still stacked up. Any bumper hook, any car can get really close to that bumper and it would turn them around. So drivers kind of pushing the limits here as we're on lap 40 or 45, getting ready to take 5 to go in turn 3.
And this is go time. Within the final 5 laps, you see these guys start to make more aggressive moves. Keaton Jones has moved himself within 2nd of the high line. He has been up front a little portion of the race, but now he's trying to get some revenge now and bring himself back up to the front. You see the outside lines kind of picking themselves apart. As you see Joseph Costello, who's been near the rear for most of this race, he might try to make a move down the back straightaway.
This this is a perfect picture for that Vag Esports team. 2 of their cars leading both lanes up top. That's Curtis Granger in the 7. Curtis Granger in the 77, Will Reacher in the 7. Looks like Curtis Granger will clear him. Will he hop down? Not yet. He'll stay in front of that 48 car of Keaton Jones. They're trying to lead both lanes here.
Yeah, and you've seen the guys going 3 wide. You see some 3 wide action up front. There's Liam Sheen down back with support from the 83 of Joe Berge as they stay 2 wide. For the lead, the 2 Toyotas up front. AJ Bain, the 2 Chevys behind them in both rows. And then we have Sami Yaya, who made a charge early in this green flag run, but now has kept himself within this bottom line at least. But here comes a move from Joe Berge down the middle.
Still even side by side for the race lead, those 2 Vag Esports cars. I think there's a bit of strategy here. I don't think Curtis Granger wants to get down in front of that 7 car. I think they want to lead both lanes, and that's going to prevent another car from getting there. We got another caution out on the racetrack.
Oh, and that was a big stack up. Joe Berge was involved in that. He was trying to carve his way through the middle of the field, and it just wasn't enough space. They were kind of fighting for the same real estate there, and that sent him around. I believe Liam Sheen was involved in that as well. We'll take the replay and see what happened, but a hard hit for Joe Berge, who was running so well and was kind of looking to make a comeback run here. You see they were going 3 wide and just very tight. Liam Sheen tried to make a move down low, but I guess he wasn't clear. That sent him into, I believe, one of the Vag Esports cars. That's the 25. Joseph Costello's around. Liam Sheen went hard into the wall. A bunch of drivers involved in that, and once again, we have a caution out on the racetrack.
Looks like the 22 of Liam Sheen tried to get down to the middle and got the right rear quarter pin of Joe Berge. Turned around into the 25 car, a Vag Esports car right there. And down the back straightaway, another big wreck, and that's going to push us into a green-white checkered as that caution came out with 3 laps to go.
Well, we had some really clean racing up until that point, and now this is the most interesting part of this race. If you see the Vag Esports cars side by side, and I'm not sure whether they'll line up double file or single file this time around, but either way, these Vag Esports guys might go at it, and they might betray each other within these final laps just to get the win. And we know Curtis Granger is one of the guys who needs a break in points. He's fallen back 2 spots ever since the last race, and if he can get a win tonight, that'll be a huge bump up for them in the Vag Esports team.
It's certainly be a good night for them if they can finish 1-2, just like they're gonna take the green white checkered restarts. And yeah, certainly a good image for them, taking over the top 2 spots, the 7 and the double 7. I bet they're just hoping to finish the same way.
Yes, sir, they do. And that leaves the last Vag Esports car, the number 4 of Jackson Harmon, who had some struggles early in the night, but has now worked his way back into 8th place. Mitch Hobbs with a very good run right now late in this race. He's P9 right there in the Sharpie car based off of the Kurt Busch car. When he used to race with Roush Fenway, I was about to say Esports, Roush Fenway Racing, excuse me. Bucky Burt behind them in the 33, who was involved in another accident early in the running. Andrew Ramos behind them, and then starts a train of Dr. Pepper Esports cars with Jack DeAndrea, Kelan Belsha, and then behind them they have a couple drivers separating them between the next Dr. Pepper Esports car in Henry Tabor in the 16.
With Dr. Pepper Esports, we really haven't seen them split up at all, except for maybe Liam Sheen, who tried to get up there but was caught up in that wreck. But they've all been sticking together for the most part. At least 2 of them have been sticking together at all times. But yeah, we could see a bit of strategy. We see Kelan Belsha, first-time starter, Jack DeAndrea, at 28 car. They're looking inside the top 10, and they're hoping to maybe get a good finish out of this one.
Yeah, with the attrition we've seen here tonight, it's pretty easy to kind of make your way out of the trouble and gain some positions in the process. So maybe these Dr. Pepper Esports guys can make a good run later in the race, or they can avoid some late race carnage if we do get set for another green-white checkered if that happens. But so far, we haven't been through the first one yet. We got to get through the first one before we can think about any of the other stuff ahead. And the Vag Esports car is certainly showing out tonight. They're one of the bigger teams this race, as I mentioned earlier. But Now this is a true test of fate between these two cars, the 7 and the 77. Quietly down the track we go, don't we?
Yeah. Well, not much to talk about. I think we've covered really anything over the cautions. But, yeah. This, like I said, this will push us into a green white checkered finish. So we start with 2 laps to go. I'm not sure how many attempts we're going to have at a green white checkered. I would assume 3. But we're hoping we don't use all those attempts, of course. But, if we do, it's certainly going to be an exciting finish from there.
Yeah, and if we can get green until the checkered flag here, and this might be the last time that we go green until the checkered flag if nobody else wrecks and nobody else brings out another caution. So, and if you're one of the bad G Sports cars, you're in the hot seat, and we've seen how much the leads have changed and how much the runs have grown and kind of decreased. Is there something that you can like expect to see from this bad G Sports team? Do you think they're kind of bracing for cover for some runs from the outside? Maybe guys like Keaton Jones trying to make a move?
Well, one thing that I found very interesting, and one thing I haven't seen in a very long time in iRacing Superspeedway racing, is they both tried to cover both lanes. Curtis got clear of him at one point, but didn't drop down. I think they're trying to cover both lanes because when both of you are lined up on the bottom, the only anyone can just take up the outside. You can get a train and they'll get out front, but when you cover both lanes, the only way they can get past you is if they force it 3 wide. So a lot of lane management from these cars.
Yeah, lane management, that might be the strategy that Bad G Sports is looking for to capture a win here at Talladega, but still not over yet. We still got 1 green white checkered attempt, and we could stretch it to 3 if there are more cautions in the run. But guys like Keaton Jones, AJ Bain, I feel like they will work together to try and cover the ground and maybe make a charge for the lead early in the race, but later in this run, I should say. But still, it's just so unpredictable. I really can't predict what's happening here, because if I predict, I feel like it'll just change in a split second, because it always does here at Dick.
That indeed. Superspeedway racing does call for very abrasive moves on short notice. You want to think on your feet a lot, and you know, kind of a slow reaction time is what'll lead to these big wrecks. So under caution, we're hoping to get the 1 to green this time by. We'll just have to see if the pace car lights turn off, but yeah, hopefully we get there. And the pace car lights do turn off. 1 to green here at Talladega, ready to go for our first green white checkered attempt.
Yes, sir, and that'll be double file. So the field will go double file. That'll leave the 2 bad G Sports cars on the top and the bottom. I feel like they'll keep blocking until somebody makes it 3 wide and makes a run for this lead. But if you're bad G Sports, this is possibly the perfect opportunity for you to keep that lead and keep the momentum up front if you can make some blocks later in this race, and especially in this green white checkered. So we'll go down the back straightaway for what might be the final time tonight, and we'll see what happens as soon as they reach around to the front stretch and the start-finish line, and we'll go green in just a little bit. Man, you gotta have a lot of patience here at Talladega, and I have none. So I'm kind of amped up to see what happens here once the pace car goes. I wish the pace car can go just a little bit faster, and we'll get green a little bit sooner. But
Yep, and yeah, I'm excited. First green white checkered attempt, a 2-lap shootout here. It's sure to be exciting. Lots of moves going to be made. Out of disparity, kind of. These drivers are pretty desperate to get up to the front, especially this late in the race, and hoping to see it as the pace car will dive onto the apron and into the pit road, and then it'll leave the field with a clean check ahead of them, ready to take the green flag.
Here they come down the trioval for what might be the final time tonight here at Talladega. The two Badge Esports cars line up the first row. Keaton Jones and AJ Bain down in the second row. Brody Garner and the 49 of Sami Yaya down in the third row. As the green flag is out for what might be the final time tonight, here come the two Badge Esports cars into turn one.
Covering both lanes. AJ Bain looking to make a third lane around them with Sami Yaya behind him. Not going to do it yet. The 7 car is lagging back. That could leave an opening for the 48 of Keaton Jones to hop up and try to get past the leader. I'm sure that's not what Badge Esports wants right now, but we'll just have to see as they go down the back straightaway with 2 laps to go.
Here comes AJ Bain down on the high side. I kind of said that these guys want to block the 2 lanes, but there might be somebody who makes the move on the high side. AJ Bain tries to make it, but looks like nobody will go with him. They'll kind of dump him off on the high side. He might try to file back into the second line, but here comes Sami Yaya down second on the outside line. Possibly might make a move going into here on lap number 48 as we take the white flag.
Down to the trial bowl. 1 more lap to go. Flagman waving that white flag as they embark on the final lap of the race, looking 3 wide for 3rd place. Brody Garner slides up to the high line. That'll show the Badge Esports driver in front. A little bit of a breakaway for that bottom line.
Yes, this top line is now starting to form. You see the 4, another Badge Esports car trying to make their move out of desperation to try to get back to the front. But up front, it's the 2 Badge Esports cars. They could go side by side if they keep themselves clean in the front. There's some wrecking in the back. AJ Bain is around somebody's hard in the wall. That's Liam Sheen up and over. But here comes the 2 Badge Esports cars and some other guys down here. Sami Yaya might make it 3 wide. Here they come down the trioval. 48 looks low. The 77, they start to wreck side by side with the Badge Esports cars. Who's it gonna be? It's gonna be Curtis Granger by Talladega. Wow.
A crazy finish indeed. Curtis Granger coming out on top. And wow.
Will Reichard finishes second. I believe Darius Reza Dadgar finishes in 4th. Bucky Burke finishes within the top 3. Jackson Steiner finishes in 5th, and a wrecked race car at the line. Andrew Ramos down in 6th. And oh my goodness, the last car within that first group before the wreck was Sami Yaya. He finishes just inside the top 10. And look who finishes in the top 10. That's Kelan Belsha in the 1.
A good finish for him, rounding out the top 10, Kelan Belsha. But more importantly, Curtis Granger is your race winner in that 77 car. The strategy did work. Those 2 Badge Esports cars who we mentioned who were trying to cover both lanes finished 1 and 2.
Curtis Granger in the chrome and the gray chrome car will burn it down here at Talladega. Just an insane performance for him. He'll burn it down here at Dega. What a great performance for him. It's his first win this season. And what a win to take it here at Talladega out of all places.
And we're going to go ahead and look at your results for the race. Curtis Granger in that 77 car will finish first after an insane finish. Will Richard, his teammate, or his driver rather, finishes second. Bucky Burton, that 33 car, scores a 3rd place finish. Darius Reza Dadgar out of nowhere comes home with a 4th place spot. Jackson Steiner with a 5th place finish, again out of nowhere. These guys are all riding in the back towards that last run. Andrew Ramos in that 6th place position. Joe Knockel in that 7 car. And at 7th place, sorry, 24 car. Joseph Estelle in that 60 car. 8th place. Sami Yaya, who was up front towards the middle of that race, finishes 9th. And rounding out your top 10 is Kelan Belsha.
There's some surprises here outside of the top 10. Henry Tabor in the 16, the second Dr. Pepper Esports entry to finish in 11th. Brody Garner, the 55, who was in that front pack, finishes 12th. Jackson Hartman in the 4 finishes 13th. Keaton Jones, who looked like he might have made a charge for the win, finishes down in 14th after a hard hit into the outside wall. Bryson Frank down in 15th. Zachary Vakari finishes 16th. Mitch Hobbs, Grayson Trexler, AJ Bain, and Jack DeAndrea round out the top 20.
And behind that, as we kind of go into the cars a lap down, but 21st is Ruben Caceres in that 25 car. Joe Burgee scores a 22nd place finish right outside the top 20. And rounding out the cars on the lead lap, Glenn Bungeon Jr. Finishes 23rd. Liam Sheen, the first car lap down, that 22 machine, is in 24th. James Zungerman, 25th. Ty Smith gets himself a 26th place finish. Carl Faust, the Daytona winner, had a good run. Kind of late in the race, finishes 27th. Peter Kenny finishes 28th. Corey Blevins finishes 29th. And rounding out the top 30 cars, Blaze McKinney.
Yeah, Blaze McKinney, you mentioned, had a tough night tonight. Got spun and just couldn't get back up into the field. Jordan Coons, your pole sitter, had a rough night tonight. Finishes 31st. Ryan Potter, Kevin White Jr., Preston Cope, Benjamin White, who I believe just couldn't connect into the race session, finishes 35th. Alex Bonsignor and David B. Smith round out the 37-car field here at Talladega, and that shrunk very, very quickly over the cautions. And just what a night here at Talladega. Curtis Granger takes the win, his first win of the season in the ARGA series. We'll be right back, and we'll take a short break in just a little bit, and we'll bring you back the action to get some driver interviews and, of course, the interview in Victory Lane with your winner tonight. We'll be right back. Tune in for more.
Coming up to the line, being chased, and it was Braden Johnson.
Unbelievable finish.
It was 1/1000th of a second between them.
Green flag in the air. We are racing in the 2020 24 Hours of Daytona.
They go door to door for the feature race lead here on the last lap of the race. Side by side for the race lead in the final corner at Homestead.
Down the back straightaway, 3 wide again for the race lead. This is unbelievable stuff here tonight.
The Loma is going to have to be very deep on the brakes, and he is very deep on the brakes. It's side by side through the corner. This is for the win.
It'll be side by side. Davies low, Ottinger high. To the very inside is Garrett Lowe. 4 wide at the stripe. For all his work here on this outside line, neck and neck. Who's going to back out? Does anyone back out? Verstappen starts to squeeze on the inside, and now he'll try and straight line it. Goes under the apron, drag race to the line. It's so close to call.
Welcome back to the Talladega 119. Certainly was a caution-filled race, but a great finish at the end, and that leaves Curtis Granger down to victory lane. And I'm not sure if Curtis is in the waiting room right now. I'm not sure whether he'll get an interview, but he's in the admin voice channel right now, so I'm not sure if he will get an interview, but we will get an interview with the driver who finished second tonight, and that is Will Reichard. And Will, welcome to the booth. Of course, you got a copy?
Yeah, I hear you.
All right, well, what a performance you put on tonight with the VAG Esports guys. And I know you just came up quite short, but just tell us how your race went and what was the strategy going into this race, and how did you kind of plan it out on the racetrack as it was going on?
Yeah, so starting from qualifying, we all wanted to qualify up front. The plan was to stay in front of a Rex for most of the race. Unfortunately, we qualified somewhere around mid-pack, like 6th through 12th-ish. And so we got really aggressive on the first couple laps, tried to work our way up through the field. I got through. Most of my other teammates got caught up in a wreck pretty early, so I was alone up there for a while. But for the most part, the strategy worked out for me. I was ahead of almost all the wrecks. I wasn't really involved with anything. Kept the car clean until the very end, and got first and second place for the team right there.
Yeah, you kept the car 100% clean through the entire race, and it was insane, especially with the amount of cautions we had tonight. How did you kind of manage yourself through these cautions as they kind of went? Was it kind of like a sense of disappointment, after you were going through a green flag run? What kind of feelings did you have as the cautions were kind of coming out around you?
Well, around lap 10 or so, I made a decision to try to stay out the whole race. I could sense that it was going to be a crash-heavy race. So I made a decision to not worry about fuel and just stay out the whole time. So for track position's sake, I was happy to see all the cautions because I don't think I dropped like lower than 7th the entire race. Kept myself out of danger.
Yeah, it was an amazing race for you tonight. And of course, before we let you go, do you have any sponsors to thank? Anybody you want to thank for making this race possible?
I just want to thank VAG Esports, specifically Curtis and Zach. They run a really great team.
All right. Well, thank you, Will, for joining us in the booth. You had a really good fight, and it was certainly exciting to have you up there in the field and making that last charge up to the checkered flag. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Will Reichard with an insane finish, just coming up short, but of course you see the enthusiasm with him. Very sportsmanlike for him, and a very good race for him. A beautiful race, and of course I'll give Charlie the honor of interviewing the winner for tonight by just 9,000ths of a second. Curtis Granger, I'll drag him in. Charlie, you're on location with him now.
Yes, sir. Well, it came down to restart where I just wanted me and the 7 of Will to be side by side the whole time. So going out of 2, the 48 car was almost clear of the 7, but I may have checked up just enough to not cause a wreck, but also slow him down enough to make the 7 get a good enough run so we could stay side by side and just maintain that for the whole 2 laps. And it came down to 0.009 tenths of or 100,000s, I don't care, seconds. And it was a really good finish, and I'm glad we could come with a good result from that for VAG Esports.
And as the season kind of winds down and points are becoming more critical, what can you take away from this and beginning your run for the championship?
I mean, it's Talladega. It's kind of a crapshoot, but like there's a little bit of skill involved here and there for mental games. I don't think there's any more tracks like this on the schedule, so it all comes down to driver skill, and I got none of that. So it's gonna be tough, but I'll figure something out. Good points day for us because there's 37 people starting the race, so scored a lot of points, led a good bit of laps, and then won the whole damn thing. Looking forward to next week. I don't know where it is, but I am locked into the All-Star race that is happening after this season at North Wilkesboro, newly added to iRacing, and I'm super excited to race on that. Also got to thank my partners of Toyota, FedEx, SiriusXM, and VAG Esports. Follow us on Twitter at VAG Esports, VAGESPORT. And yeah, that's all I got, kid.
Well, Curtis, you're rounding yourself out first place. We appreciate you coming out tonight, and we'll see you next week at the Linear Dirt Derby.
I can't wait for it.
All right. That was Curtis Granger, and we're going to have Kenneth interview our third place driver, Bucky Burt. Well, I don't think he's in the waiting room, but we're going to go ahead and interview our fourth place driver, Darius Rezardadgar. As we'll slide him in. Kenneth, why don't you take this one away?
All right, Darius, first of all, welcome to the KBRN booth. You got a copy with us?
Yes, sir. I got a copy.
All right, Dario. Well, you certainly had one of the more crazy nights here at Talladega, and you kind of kept yourself in the stealth mode for most of the race, but you finished 4th tonight. What a finish for you tonight. Tell us how your race went, how the car felt through the draft.
Well, first of all, thank you for congratulating me on my 4th place finish. The car felt great in the draft, definitely. There was a lot of sucking up to do. It felt very much like the Cup car, except the Cup car reaches higher speeds, but it felt like the Cup car. Most of the race, I was riding at the back. Later in the race, I had to come down pit road. I wanted to check the replay about something, so that kind of killed my momentum, or so I thought. But then the whole field just, I don't know. The whole field just, I don't know how to describe it other than died. And I ended up coming away with a 4th place finish. I'm not that happy about it. I don't know if you caught the replay, but I just no-lifted, I believe that was the 60 there. I'm not that happy about that, but it should be a good points day for us. I plan on competing points. So yeah.
Well, Darius, it was a pretty interesting race for you, and I'm not sure what else really to ask you, but of course this was a caution-filled race. There was just a bunch of cautions out there, and tell us what your experience was like through the field. Did the cars feel just a little bit tight? Was there kind of did you kind of just see the field around you as the cautions were coming out?
Oh yeah, there were a lot of cautions, but I definitely wasn't bored. I want to thank AJ Bain, Joe Burgee, Joe Nochel for keeping me company in the voice chat the whole time and not getting not me dying of boredom. But yeah, the car felt great, especially in the draft. It was a lot of fun tonight, and I just want to thank you guys for broadcasting as well.
And of course, we thank you for being out there on the racetrack and giving us some of the best racing we've seen here at TrexCo iRacing League. Of course, Dario rounds himself out in the 4th position. Thank you for joining us here in the KBRN booth. We appreciate the time that you give us, and we'll see you out there next week at Linear Dirt. It's going to be fun.
All right, thank you.
Dario within finishing 4th tonight, and a good finish for him. Of course, he said that he wasn't too happy about the finish, but still a good finish regardless in the top 5. Charlie, I'll let you take the next interview with whoever's in the waiting room.
All right, next going in the waiting booth is that 97 car of Jackson Steiner. Jackson, you got a copy with us?
Yep. Yes, I do.
Well, Jackson, you complete our top 5. What in the world happened on that green white checker? Because you came from the back all the way to the top 5. So walk us through what happened on that green white checker.
I just wanted to get top 10. Knew eventually they would pile up in the turn. I was just trying to get myself in the best position through it. And once I got through it, I was side by side with Andrew. I'm like, okay, well, I'll just stay here. Then the top 6 wreck, and then it's like, oh, great, now I have a chance to top 3. Again, that wreck came home 5th, so that's pretty good.
All right, well, I'm not sure where you are in points, but what can you take away from this as we begin the second half of our season and try to make a run maybe for a good points finish at the end of it?
I think we need to kick a lot of people. That's all I know.
All right, well, Jackson Standing running yourself out 5th. Any sponsors you want to thank?
Go listen to Uncle Cracker's new song on Spotify or any listening places. No Time to Be Sober, out now.
All right, well, Jackson, we appreciate you coming out tonight and completing our Talladega race, and we'll see you next race.
All right, thank you.
And just a word from our 3rd place finisher, Bucky Burt. He says his microphone does not work, but he wants us. Well, he wanted us to know that he wants to thank his sponsors: Highland Wealth Advisors, Nature's Bakery, and Rannis Gourmet. So those are Bucky Burt's sponsors. He rounds himself out 3rd place. And yeah, so that's gonna complete our interviews for tonight. Kenneth, it's been a wild race and a very wild finish. What can you kind of take away from this race as we begin our second half of the season?
Well, it's certainly chaos, and what I said at the beginning of the race certainly has lived up to the hype and what I said at the top of the broadcast. But it's been insane. But before we just go and wrap things up, I want to give an interview to the 49 of Samiyaya, who's been waiting patiently in the booth, and he also had one of the more impressive finishes tonight. So I'll just interview him and we'll wrap things up after. So Sammy, welcome to the KBRN booth. You got a copy?
Yes.
All right. Well, you drove a hell of a race. We saw you up front. You rounded on the outside of the front row in the beginning of the race, and you really never let that up through the whole race. Just tell us how your race went, how the car felt.
Well, coming to think of it, this is my first race since Iowa, since I've been absent because I've been at work and everything. The race was amazing and everything. I had a great experience. We were coming to the final lap of the race. Our car was running good, and I was gonna get around the 7, or I was trying to get around the 7, but he was kind of blocking or near the final lap, and I was trying to stick my nose under him because I thought he'd leave a gap, but then he chopped me down, and then we had collided with the 48, and then as soon as the 48 was coming back up the track, the 55 sticks his nose in there, and it turns the 48, hooked him, hit us, and wrecked us,
Well, before that, you really had one of the better races tonight, and I know you were having 3 wide moments throughout the beginning of the race
Yeah.
and pretty much through the end of the race. And we were just impressed to see how bold you were through those laps. And were you kind of feeling a little anxious, or were you just kind of in like send it mode?
Well, I was pretty calm throughout the whole race, but the final lap, my heart was popping out of my chest. You know, I was really scared.
All right. Well, before we let you go, is there anybody you want to thank for making this race possible?
Well, I'd like to thank Grayson Trexler for giving me the opportunity to race in this amazing league. I really appreciate it. And I want to say thanks to you guys for being able to broadcast this because I really appreciate it. Um, and, you know, I'd like to thank iRacing for their service.
Well, of course, we thank you for being out there on the racetrack and putting on a show tonight at Talladega. Of course, I'm not sure whether we'll see you in the linear dirt derby. I think you plan on racing that, but that's also going to be a great race, and we'll be broadcasting that too. So we hope to see you there next week, and of course, wish you luck with the rest of the season.
Thank you, sir.
Sami Yaya rounding himself out. A good race for him tonight here at Talladega, and he certainly had one of the better races we've seen. So now that we've got all the interviews practically wrapped up, is there any kind of takeaway you have from this? I believe this is the last super speedway race we have on the schedule. We practically don't have any really large tracks except for Indianapolis. So is there something you can kind of take away from this race to bring into the next of the season, or just kind of move on?
Well, this was a record field tonight. We had 37 cars come out. That is great for our league. And I think one thing to take away is also the viewership. But you know, I think this will bring a lot more drivers into our next couple races. And yeah, I'm excited to see what the next half of the season is like as people begin their journey to try to fight for a championship. So I'm excited about it, and it's going to be exciting to watch, and it's going to be exciting to cover the race with you.
Yes, it is. And Charlie, it's great to have you in the booth. And of course, it's great to have every single one of you in the YouTube chat and all of the people watching on the KBRN YouTube channel. We appreciate all the support, and every amount of support is just appreciated by us. And we do it for you guys out there. And of course, for the guys in this league to make this league bigger and to get it some more exposure. So, of course, thank you all for tuning in to KBRN. It's been our first functional iRacing broadcast. We had some struggles earlier, but I think this is our first successful one. So, of course, thank you so much for all of the support tonight. And, of course, we hope to see you guys later into next week and this Saturday. Of course, this Saturday is the Instagram Quarantine Street Stock Series pre-race show live from Texas, the site of the finale, race number 9. So we'll give you all the action there. We'll update you on where that will be broadcasted. We're trying to get a deal in, but if not, it'll be right here on KBRN, on the KBRN YouTube channel. And, of course, next Monday, we have the Linear Dirt Derby for the TrexCo iRacing League, race number 7, another wild card event. And that's going to be a fun one to cover with you, Charlie. For everyone here at KBRN, for all the viewers in the chat, and, of course, for everyone here at the TrexCo iRacing League, and for Charlie Baier, my name is Kenneth Bueno, saying good night from Dega.